Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the class. Today, we will start a new chapter in history, and this is what books and burials tell us. In the old book, this chapter is number 5, but in the new book, this is your chapter 4 because chapter 2 and 3 has been merged in the new book. I have told you earlier also. So this is chapter 4. In this chapter, we will read about the books which were written in ancient times, how the historians come to know about the past by using this the one of the most important sources that are books, and burials are also a rich source of knowing about the past. So, the complete chapter deals with the various books which were written in ancient times, the manuscripts, and the burials are discussed in the chapter. So, we will start Mary and the library. As the bell rang, the teacher asked the students to follow him because they were going to the library for the first time. So it is the story of Mary, who is there in a school, and now Mary is going to library for the first time. And when Mary stepped inside, she found that the library was much larger than their classroom. You have also seen that library in our school is so big, is so large, and if you compare the size of the classroom and the library, you will find that library is much larger than the classroom. So, uh, Mary was very excited. All the children becomes all the students become very excited when they go to library. And in library, what you see, there were so many shelves, and on these shelves, what are kept? Books of different books on different subjects, and books of different interests are kept on the shelves. And what Mary saw that in one of the corners there was a cupboard which was filled with large old volumes. Okay, old volumes means the books which were written in ancient times. So Mary got attracted by that cupboard and she tried to open that cupboard. And then the teacher said that the cupboard has very special books on different religions. Okay, the cupboard which was Mary wanted to open, that cupboard has some very special books, and these books were dealing with different religions. And the teacher asked that, did you know that we have a set of Vedas? So, what are Vedas? This chapter will tell you about the Vedas. Vedas are the, we can say it, books, ancient books. In the original form, Vedas are manuscript. They were written by hand on the birch barks. But after so many years, it was given a form of book. And these Vedas deal with religious matters, and we will know in detail about the Vedas. So you can see one of the oldest books in the world. Vedas are considered as one of the oldest book in the world. And actually, there are four Vedas. These are Rigved, Samved, Yajurved, and Atharvaved. You can see it here. It is written. This is important for you. Okay. Four Vedas are there. Rigveda, Samveda, Yajurveda, and Atharvaveda. And in these four Vedas, which is the oldest Veda? Rig Veda. The oldest Veda is Rig Veda, which has been composed about 3,500 years ago. So, Rig Veda was written about 3,500 years ago. It means I have told you how to count the year. When it is written that it is that something was happened 3,500 years ago, it means what you are supposed to do in order to know the exact year. 3,500 years ago hai. So you have to subtract 2,000. Why we are subtracting 2,000? Because at present we are in 2020. So we are not considering 20, because when we are dealing with thousands of years, then 20 is not a great number. So we will consider today's year as 2000. So we will subtract 2000 from 3500 and we will get 1500. So this Rig Veda was written in around, can't say that in, it was written around 1500 BC. Okay. So what we see that what is there in the Rig Veda. In the Rig Veda we find that there are more than 1,000 hymns. And what is the number of the hymns? More than 1,000. And these hymns are called Sukta. Sukta means well said. Su plus Ukta. This is a Sanskrit word. Su plus Ukta. You must you will know all these things in Sanskrit. This is Sukta means Su Ukta. जो अच्छी बातें कही जाती है. Su means good, well. This is the English of translation of Sukta. So Su means well or good, and Ukta means जो कहा गया. So well said. Okay. So in these hymns, what are the content of these hymns? The content of these hymns are these hymns are in praise of gods and goddesses. Okay, in these Vedas we find hymns, and these hymns are about the praising of God and goddesses. And there are three gods which are given very much important place in Vedas. They are Agni. You know all the meaning of Agni. It's Ag. Okay. And Agni is the god of fire. Then Indra. Indra is the warrior god, because he is considered to be the king of heaven, and he always engaged in various types of war. So he's considered as warrior god. And then Soma. Soma is a plant from which a special drink was prepared. So these are the three gods which were given important place in Vedas. Okay. And now, who are the composer of these hymns? We have known about the Vedas, that in Vedas there are hymns, and these hymns are in praise of God and goddesses. And we knew about the gods and goddesses also, who are the gods which are given important place in Vedas. Now, the next question is, who are the composer of hymns. Who has written? Composer means who has written these hymns. These hymns were written by sages. Who are sages? These are rishis. In ancient India, we have Rishi Muni. Okay, they are sages. So, uh, this is also important. These hymns were composed by sages. And then we see that priests taught students to recite and memorize each syllable, word, and sentence bit by bit with great care. Because the language which is used in Vedas is Sanskrit, and it is the priest used to be the teacher, and they taught students how to pronounce each syllable, how to pronounce each word, how to pronounce each sentence, and in this way they taught the students to recite and memorize all these. Okay, and one more important thing is that this that these hymns were composed. Who were the composer? The sages were the composer, and in during that time, the male members of the society were used to be sages. So these hymns were composed by men. Not only these hymns were composed by men, they were also taught. The teacher can be male only, and the learner should also be male. Mostly, this was the rule that these hymns were composed, taught, and learned by men. Okay, though few of the hymns were composed by women also, but they were very few in number. And there were some female students also, but their number is very, very few. So, mostly the hymns were composed, taught, and learned by men only. Okay, and now we see the language. I told you the Vedas are written in Sanskrit, but the Rig Veda is written in uh, a particular form of Sanskrit which is called Old or Vedic Sanskrit. And this old or Vedic Sanskrit is different from the Sanskrit which you learn nowadays. So there is a difference between the form of the language. Both are Sanskrit, but they are different from each other in many respects. So we see that the books we use are written, and at present what we see, uh, books are written, they are typed, and then they are printed. And nowadays we are seeing a new version of book. In this period of lockdown, we are not able to get the books. Then how we are how we are able to read? We are reading through digital books. Now the books are not even printed. They are in the digital form. They are present in the digital form in the computer. So this is the change of time with the advancement of technology and science. What happens that the form of everything changes. So nowadays we are seeing printed books are there, or digital, yeah, e-books. We can also say it, e-books are there. But in history, we are reading about the time reading about the time when there was no technological advancement was there. Paper was also not invented in proper way. People used to write on palm leaves or bark of the tree, and there was no printing. People used to write with their hand, and we all know in the previous chapter we have seen that this type of writing, when we write with our hand and on a soft surface like palm leaves or birch bark birch, then it is called manuscript. So Rig Veda was also written by hand on the birch barks. Okay, and it was recited and heard rather than read. What happened that people usually um recited the Rig Veda, and oral knowledge was the basis of that time. People used to recite, people used to hear the Rig Veda. Reading was not more important. Reading was not popular because there was a scarcity of copies of the book, because printing was not there, paper was not there, it was written by hand, so it cannot be produced in much number. Okay, so what happened that people used to recite and hear rather than read. Though it was composed 3,500 years ago, but it was written, it was printed less than 200 years ago. Okay, so we see that it was written down several centuries after it was first composed. It was first composed about 3,500 years ago, but it was first printed less than 200 years ago. And before this print copy of Rig Veda, how people used to know about this the content of the Rig Veda. The method was to recite and hear. So this is the speciality of ancient books. Okay, so now we will know something more about our language, Sanskrit. Okay, actually, Sanskrit is a part of a family of languages which is known as Indo-European. Languages have also their family. Okay, so one of the family of language is Indo-European, and in this family there are many languages are there, such as Indian languages, which are part of Indo-European family. Are These are the Indian languages which are part of the Indo-European language family. These are Assamese, Gujarati, Hindi, Kashmiri, and Sindhi. These are the languages of India which are a part of Indo-European family other than Sanskrit. Okay, and besides the Indian language of this Assamese, Gujarati, Hindi, Kashmiri, Sindhi, and Sanskrit, we have some Asian languages also like Persian, which is also a part of Indo-European language family. And then there are many European languages such as English, French, German, Greek, Italian, and Spanish. They all belong to this Indo-European family. And what we see that there is some kind of similarity in all the languages which are belonging to one family. For example, you can See, in Sanskrit it is Matra, in Hindi it is Ma, and in English it's mother. So there is but we see that these all languages, English, Hindi, Sanskrit, they are different languages, but mm, mm, they had some words in common. For ma, for mother, mother, ma, matri, all these are denoting the same meaning, and they have some words which are in common. So we see that other than this Indo-European family, there are other families of language also, like this Tibeto-Burman family. Which languages are the members of this family? The languages which are spoken in northeastern part of India. These languages are part of Tibeto-Burman family. And then there is another family, that is Dravidian family. And which languages are the part of this Dravidian family? These are Tamil, Telugu, Kannada and Malayalam. These are the languages of South India. Okay, Tamil, Telugu, Kannada and Malayalam. And then we see that there is one more family is there, that is Austro-Asiatic family. And the Indian language which is part of this Austro-Asiatic family is the language which is spoken in Jharkhand and parts of central India. So we have seen that there are so many families of language: Indo-European family, Tibeto-Burman family, Dravidian family, Austro-Asian Asiatic family, and other than these, there are many more families. But we see that the languages which are spoken in India, they all belong to these families. Okay. Now we will see how historians study the Rig Veda. So we have seen when we were discussing in the first chapter the sources of history. How do historians know about the past? One of the most important source of knowing the past is written material, is manuscripts. So we have buildings, we have many things which were used by the people in order to know about them. Other than these material remains, the written sources are also very important to know about the past. Okay, some of the hymns in the Rig Veda are in the form of dialogues. What we see that how these hymns are composed in Rig Veda, they are in the form of dialogues. Suppose two or more than two people are talking to each other, and in this, through this conversation, we get to know so many things about the past or about the time which was at which time this these hymns were composed. So in the next phase, we will see that such one such hymn will be read by us. I'm going to read it. It's a dialogue between a sage and two rivers. And what is the name of the sage? The name of the sage is Vishwamitra. And which are the two rivers? This is Beas and Satluj. So you must be remembering this Beas and Satluj. We have discussed about these rivers earlier also. These two rivers, other than there are many more. Actually, there are 5 rivers which are tributary to the Indus River. And in this hymn, there is mention of 2 rivers Vyas and Satluj, which are the tributary of the Indus River. Okay, and you can find these rivers on first map of the book, which is given in page 2. Okay, so this is the original manuscript. Okay, this is the original Rig Veda. How it was written? It is handwritten. You can see it, and the language is Sanskrit, and it is written on birch bark. And where was it found by archaeologists? It was found in Kashmir. And about 150 years ago, it was used to prepare one of the earliest printed texts of the Rig Veda, as well as an English translation. So, this manuscript, when this manuscript was found, it was used to prepare the printed text of the Rig Veda. Now, the Rig Veda is in the form of a book, and how this book has been and how this book came into existence. This book, by using these manuscripts were first translated and then they were printed in the form of book. And this original manuscript is now preserved in a library in Pune, that is in Maharashtra. So this is the original manuscript of Rig Veda, and at present it is kept in a library at Pune. And now we have Rig Veda in the form of a book, and it has been translated into in Hindi as well as English. Okay, so this is the dialogue about which we were discussing, the dialogue between Vishwamitra, who was a sage, and the two rivers, Vyas and Satluj. Vishwamitra, O rivers, come down from the mountains like two swift horses, like two shining cows that lick their calves. So Vishwamitra is requesting the rivers to come down from mountain in a very swift manner, like horses or like cows. And again, Vishwamitra is saying that you move like chariots to the sea through the power of Indra. So the rivers flow, and the rivers starts flowing, and then they ultimately meet the sea. This Satluj and Vyas are the tributary of Indus. They start flowing from the mountain and they meet the main river, that is Indus, and then this Indus ultimately meet the Arabian Sea. So this is the path of the river. This is the course of the river. So Vishwamitra is saying that the river, how does it move? How does it flow? Like chariots. Chariots are, you must have seen in old, in those serials, uh, the serials like Ramayana and Mahabharata, you must have seen the chariot, which is called Rath in Hindi. So these chariots are very important in the battleground, and these were driven by the horse, and important warriors are used to be in chariots. So chariots were very important in those days, because in those days battles were very important, and battles were fought in chariots. So um, Vishwamitra is saying that the rivers flow like chariots. So he had compared rivers with horses. He has compared rivers with cows, and he has also compared rivers with chariots. You are full of water and wish to unite with one another. Rivers are full of water, and the all rivers ultimately, the Vyas, the Satluj, then Ravi, Chenab, all these rivers are uniting with each other. So now the rivers are asking the Vishwamitra, we who are full of water move along the path the God have made for us. Okay, the rivers are saying that yes, we are full of water, and we do not determine our path. Our path is decided by the God, and once we start flowing, we cannot be stopped. No one can stop us. So why are you praying to us? Now Viswamitra is saying, "Oh sisters, please listen to me. The singer who has come from a distance with his chariots and carts, let your waters not rise above our axles so that we can cross safely." So, what is the request of Vishwamitra? Is that the the level of the water should not rise above the axle of the chariot. If the water level is above the axle of the chariot, then what happened? That the chariot will stop moving. So Viswamitra is requesting the rivers to not to rise above the axle of the chariot, so that we can cross safely. Okay. And now the rivers are saying, we will listen to your prayers so that you can cross safely. The rivers are replying that, okay, we will try to uh, listen to your prayers. Whatever you are praying that do not rise above our axle, we will try to do that so that you can cross safely. So we see that this is the dialogue between the Vishwamitra and the rivers. And now the other parts will be discussed in the next class.